response to me.
For the information of the audience, both here and on TV, the board had an executive session that started at 6:30 this evening and was over just about 7:25 to cover some personnel and some legal items. This evening, Mrs. Mengel is out of town, so I'm filling in her place this evening. The meeting tonight is our regularly scheduled action meeting. We will also be presenting proclamations to outstanding students. This meeting is being videotaped for community cable channels. Individuals attending this meeting and intending to speak to the board should be aware that they are being videotaped. In order to meet the requirement of the Pennsylvania Sunshine Law, it is necessary to record the names of all citizens who speak to the board during the meeting. To assure compliance with this requirement, it is essential that those planning to address the board come to the microphone and state their name and address. Members of the audience are asked to limit their questions and comments to no more than 5 minutes. This limit will permit time for all those who wish to speak to the board. Wherever members of the audience exceed this time limit, the board president may ask the individual to yield the microphone to the next speaker. I'd like to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I need a motion to appoint Dorothy Hatfield as a board secretary pro tem.
So moved. Seconded.
Motion by Mr. Schilling, second by Frank O'Donnell. Any questions? All those in favor say aye. So
Aye.
I'd like to have a motion to recommend the approval of the 7:56, 7:57, and the minutes of the 4/7/98 and the 7:58 meeting.
So moved.
I have a motion by Mrs. Krieger, a second by Mr. Schilling. Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
So moved. At this time, I think we have some proclamations. Is that correct?
We do. We have proclamations for indoor state champions and a proclamation for a record in girls basketball. Would you two mind going up to the podium? No, stand right there. That's good. That's good. One thing about outstanding athletes is they are coached awfully well, and they're very coachable. Thank you. Thank you. Coach, you're here, and you have one of the athletes here. Why don't we start with you, and then we'll do ladies next.
Okay, I'm Coach Swanker, and I have the indoor state championship track 4x800 meter team and 800 meter individual winner. Both set records this year. The rest of the team, I think, is trying to get a hold of one of the guys and bring him here, but I do have Josh Hebner. He's our leadoff leg for the 4x8. Did an outstanding job for us this year, and is a sprinter most of the time, and this time we bumped him up to 800 meters and did a great job. Josh.
Josh? Come on.
I'd like to mention the other three guys, Pat O'Malley, Dan Tantino, and Matt Antunes. And Matt Antunes was the individual winner in the 800 meters, setting a new state record, 1:54.25, and the #1 time in the nation at that particular point, February the 21st.
All right. Very good.
Coach,
And these kind of results does start with outstanding coaching, and so Coach Swanker, we're pleased to present you this certificate of merit and ask also to give the other members of your team their proclamations. Congratulations.
Thank you. Great job. As one of the ceremonies we have, we like you to come around and meet all the board members so they can also congratulate you for the great job you did. Come around the front. Congratulations.
Good job. I can.
Good job, Jeff. Good job, Coach.
I'm now pleased to introduce Jamie Willis, whose coach is not able to be here. Jamie is an outstanding basketball player, and she has achieved a distinction in becoming only the third young woman in North Penn girls basketball history to score over 1,000 points in her career. Jamie.
All right.
Congratulations. Congratulations. While you're up here, why don't you shake hands with all the board members? Congratulations. Good job.
Great job.
She's senior. We know. She's senior.
I used to only ever get
She's seen
hit the basketball while I was sitting here.
Jamie, a question was asked, are you a senior?
Yes.
That's too bad. Thank you. Lots of luck.
Congratulations.
We're going to proceed right into committee reports. As the committee reports are given tonight, I would request that the chairman, given the report, would tell us in the audience when the next committee meeting will be held. Committee meetings have a tendency to change, and a lot of them been readjusted and moved around over the last couple of weeks, so there is confusion when the next meetings will be held. So I'm asking the chairman to give a date and time when their next committee meeting will be held. Facilities, buildings and grounds, Mr. Mosey.
Thank you, Mr. Hill. I assume that all board members got the minutes from our last meeting, which was held on March 31st. You will see on tonight's agenda that there are several items that are be coming up for vote. There will be the awarding of the bids for the in-ground fuel tank replacements.
We're out. We haven't received it yet.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We're out.
What's it?
What's $120,000? That's only an estimate that goes down. What
Okay.
you have to do is approve the self-certification for non-reimbursement.
Right, okay. The telephone replacement system at the high school, and also the RFPs for the cooling tower replacement. We will be going out to bid shortly for cafeteria tables at the high school, as well as replacing the walk-in freezer, the steam kettle and dishwasher. I'm sorry, the freezer and the steam kettle at the high school and the dishwasher at Pendle. I will then like to go right into my high school report if I can, Mr. President.
Sure.
Our high school project continues to move forward at an excellent pace. I personally visited the site this morning with Mr. Wood and saw firsthand the good work and progress that is occurring. The following work has been completed as of this date. Footings for the entire project are complete. Foundation walls are 98% complete. Roof has been placed on the cafeteria addition. Masonry walls are 95% complete on the cafeteria addition. Concrete slab has been poured for the chiller tower. That's the air conditioner. Fuel oil tank is complete and filled with 13,500 gallons of number 2 oil. Plumbing contractor is completing underground piping of the first floor of the third-story addition. HVAC contractor has extended chilled water lines and fuel oil lines to the new boiler room area. The electrical contractor continues to place conduit throughout the first floor subgrade. The site work contractor has completed the dam and the basin area. Finished grading and seeding are complete. And I'd like to say at this point in time, if any of you go over there, that is the biggest detention basin I've ever seen in my life. If that thing ever fills up, we better get out of Lansdale. It's a pool. Demolition of the connecting link continues. Delivery of steel for the 3-story addition is expected late April or early May. Once this is on location and erected, we will then begin to see the overall building size and shape. That's the end of my report, Mr. President.
Thank you. Are there any questions? When's your next meeting, time and date?
I beg your pardon. Our next meeting will be April 28th at 4 o'clock.
April 28th at 4 o'clock.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. NAP expansion, Mr. Schilling.
No report.
Community services and policy, Mr. Shapinsky.
Thank you, Mr. Hill. I have a short report, just to notify the public that we have 2 meetings coming up for community relations and policy. April 20th, 1998 at 7 p.m. and May 7th at 1998 at 7 p.m. Also tonight in the audience, we have our new manager of community relations. I'd like her to stand up and so everybody knows who she is. Christine Liberowski, please.
Welcome aboard.
End of my report.
Thank you. Is there any questions? Hearing none, we'll move right along to Mrs. Krieger with curriculum.
Thank you, Mr. Hill. On tonight's agenda, the board will see items under the superintendent's report, items 5A and B, which were discussed at our work session last week, the first being the recommended approval for our 1998 advanced credit summer school program, as well as the recommended approval for the 98 summer school remedial program. Also, at the last curriculum meeting, we've received a presentation by Dr. Vince Cotter as to the new requirements under the new state curriculum regulations, in which every student, beginning with the incoming 10th grade class in September of this year, must now complete a graduation project. The purpose of the project, which may include research, writing, or some other form of appropriate form of demonstration, is to assure that the student is able to apply, analyze, synthesize, and evaluate information, and to be able to communicate significant knowledge and understanding in one or more areas of concentrated study. Next year's 10th grade class will be the first class to graduate from North Penn who will have to meet this requirement, and I must add that my daughter is oh so very happy about this. Dr. Cotter and the graduation committee have been working to develop a plan for implementation, which to date includes an introduction to the concept of the graduation project to all 9th graders beginning this year, the development of a mentor for each student, parameters for each project's approval, monitoring practices, and grading procedures. Dr. Cotter will continue to update the board curriculum committee of the progress in the development of this requirement, and the next curriculum meeting will be held on Thursday, May the 7th at 4:30 p.m. End of my report, sir.
Thank you. Are there any questions? She gave it. Mr. Allen isn't here this evening. Does anybody have any report on the special education student services or support services? There'll be no report for those 2 areas. Finance, Mrs. Shear.
Yes, thank you, Don. Since the March 19th action meeting, the Finance Committee's met 4 times, March 24th, April 1st, April 8th, and April 14th. Basically, our discussions have been dominated by the 1998-99 budget, and our budget was introduced, the budget was introduced at $118.7 million.
Excuse me, Vicki,
And
could
we
you
have
pull the
dropped-
mic
Microphone,
closer to you,
microphone.
please?
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize.
We want
I
to
can
hear
hear
your
myself
voice.
well.
Don't start
At any
over.
rate,
Don't
since-
start over.
Thank you, Pat. Anyway, between the April 8th and the April 14th meeting, the budget was reduced approximately $1 million. Our next finance budget meeting is called for April 28th. It will begin at 6 p.m. and at 6:30 p.m. We will move from a general discussion of financial issues that we deal with on a monthly basis to the budget. And it was requested at the April 14th meeting that each board member be notified that that meeting of the 28th would like to be utilized as an introduction of the budget to the full board. So all board members are being asked to make an effort to attend, and this is to help facilitate us being able to move forward with the budget in a timely fashion, given the fact we must vote on the preliminary budget 30 days prior to the final budget, which means our May committee meeting may be best used to move forward with the adoption of the preliminary budget and then continue our work through to the final budget so that we can take action at our June 19th action meeting. Now, that's not to say the work on the budget is done. Our administrators are still working on it on a daily basis. They still have direction from the Finance Committee to work to tighten the budget figures, whether through a constant review of the expenditures to date for the 97-98 budget year, as well as a closer evaluation of our 97-98 revenues and those for 98-99. It's been a very complex process for us all. We've not only had to focus on revenues, we've had to sort through the ins and outs of the reassessment process and how that's affecting us through our revenue budget. But we have been diligent and we have been accommodating the schedule as needed in order to move this budget forward. And as I said, none of us are totally satisfied with where it is today, but I hope that you'll all accommodate the April 28th meeting and try to attend by 6:30 p.m. that night. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions on finance?
Just one, Vicki.
Yeah.
The May work session will be followed by a special action meeting to adopt the preliminary budget?
That will
Is that
be.
what the plans are?
That's really going to
That'll be
somewhat be decided with the April 28th meeting, because we do need board members that are comfortable with the budget at that point in time. Also, how many questions are able to be resolved through that meeting, how many can be answered subsequent to that to the committee meeting. That's why we wanted to move it up to give a second opportunity. We can put it back on the agenda for the work session and have the action meeting subsequent to that.
Well, if we don't do it that night,
We would just
we
have
would
to
be
call
forced to
another
have a
meeting.
special action meeting again
Yeah,
some
we
other
would
night.
need to call because the action meeting in May is 2 or 3
2
days
days
shy.
after of the deadline.
Actually, election day is it's the
Right.
backup through the calendar is really the deadline for us to really move with that and allow for the 30-day window from our action meeting in June. But if you go any later than that, you can involve yourself in penalties and added expenses with the tax collectors.
Vicki, I have a question. Perhaps maybe Mrs. Deddy, you'd be better. We have to submit a final budget by June 18th, I believe,
No.
in order to avoid penalties.
I estimated June 18th to avoid the expedite fees that were involved in prior years.
If we don't do it by June 18th and we have to go June 25th, 26th, whatever, how are those, what are those penalties and how would they, are they a percentage or is it so much a day or?
No, I don't really think it's a penalty, but we need to pay expedite fees to get the tax bills printed.
Right.
And then the tax collector, as was agreed last year, they also got paid to have extra people help them get the tax
What,
bills
do you know what
actually
that came
come in.
to last year, roughly?
Yeah, I think roughly, and it's a big rough, because the spread is between 10 and 20,000 in expedite costs.
It also fell on a weekend, Pat. It
I
really
know,
depends
I
on
know.
whether or not,
I know.
under regular hours, the printing company, basically, they'll go to data flow, and if they're able to roll them
Right.
over, it happened that it hit on a weekend.
Right.
Then when the budget was voted on, you had a weekend and you were getting past your deadline, that it affected us.
Thank you.
Any other questions relative to finance? Vicki, you understand you're responsible for any increases in the budget.
Oh, no, that's why I'm bringing you all together. We're working hard to knock this thing down.
You're a funny guy.
There's a number of items on our personnel tonight for the board to take action on, nothing of strong significance. No report on legislative, except the state, I think, is finally going to pass a budget maybe soon. And under technology, the next technology meeting will be held on May 7th at 6 p.m. Now, the main purpose of that meeting will be to review the 1, 2, 3-year plan and have all the numbers so we know what the total, so the board knows what the total cost is as it was originally proposed and laid out, so we know exactly what all the costs are, and then make a determination what we can afford and what we can't afford. And that's primarily what's going to be the purpose of that meeting. And also, at that same time, we'll be talking about any personnel, in detail about any personnel that we requested in the first year of such a plan, or maybe personnel additional years, but we're primarily working the first plan to get all the costs out. So that is on May 7th at 6 p.m. at the regular scheduled time for technology meeting. Any questions?
Did you say technology and personnel? Tom?
Yes?
Did you say technology and personnel, right?
No.
The big spending
Well,
departments?
under technology, she'll bring up personnel items. It's not a personnel meeting. It's if there are people associated, then it would, but if,
Well, I think this is great, because I'll tell you, one of the things that we're dealing with in finance, as a matter of fact, is that there are a lot of assumptions being made right now within the budget, and many of those assumptions deal with the plan, the technology plan, that no one's actually confirmed what they're supporting in the total package and
That's
what they're
what the
not.
May
We have
7th
bond
meeting is
issues
for.
that from Tuesday night's vote, given the fact that the bids that you approved associated with the E-rate were designated for bondable items. Well, if we don't have any, if we're committed to that on the basis of the E-rate being awarded to us, we can't really wait till the last minute to decide on the bonding. That bond does not exist right now, and there's strict timelines, as I understand, within the proposal for those awards. And we need some direction, because if you're going out for a bond, you don't even want it to go out for that one component. So we've got
that's
a
what the
lot
May
of
7th meeting is about.
budget decisions that are resting on
Is to
that.
hopefully get our hands around it. Sharice, you had a question?
As I understood, you gave your report on personnel, legislative, and technology, right?
Right.
Okay. I have a question, and probably Judy's probably, well, no, it's on the agenda for us to approve tonight. The degree improvements, Judy?
Yes.
I noticed that there's a $5,500 increase between what's on the agenda
Yes.
tonight and what we originally received.
When we sent that out to you, I was reading it over very carefully, and I found what I thought were errors. And I asked my secretary to go through, and she did very well. We went through the computer of our records and found that we had given one or two people too much money and other people not enough money, but it was a difference
Okay.
in numbers that we had to
So there's
fix.
no, because I was looking, I didn't see an extra.
No, there's no
names.
extra people, it's just
So I was
corrections.
just wondering, okay.
And we also, I think, put the corrections that we did, whatever they were, in italics.
Oh, okay. All right, thank you. I'll have to note that for next time.
Any other questions?
Yes, Mr. Hill, under legislative.
Yes.
In regards to the new bill that was just passed on early retirement incentives
Yes.
that Dr. Bose so graciously forwarded to us,
Yes.
is personnel now engaging in any kind of conversation about whether or not to support or oppose implementing this again for this year, since the window of opportunity basically has been
You mean
decided?
if
Do we have a
the
choice?
Oh, sure. We always have a choice whether we want to give that incentive we're given the other years. The
Okay.
incentive the state gives is a separate issue altogether.
Okay.
We just have to piggyback the last 2 years on what the state had done previously. No, there's been no discussion in personnel regarding that, and I don't think it's anything we have to do, because that's a year away.
We have,
No,
No,
it's,
it's this year.
no,
But I
it
mean, as
starts
far as
this year.
affecting any of our people, they wouldn't be able to take that action until a year from now.
we have no
No.
reason to give an ER on it.
No.
Why would we give an ER on it?
There are
from the
two, if I could help, there are
Yeah.
two windows
Yes.
for retirement for the 30 and out window. One is this year, which is from the date that the legislation was passed, which was just a few days ago, until July 10th.
Right.
And then next year, from, I believe it's April 1st to June 30th.
Right.
And so those are the two times when those who wish to retire can take advantage of that special window that the state is providing.
Speaking, and I don't
We
speak
have
for
no
the board,
option.
the
We have
last
no
time
option on
we
that.
took that window, we looked at that window as far as the board is concerned, we said we were going to do it again for a while. We're
No,
going to
that's,
sit,
that's
You're
offered by the
talking
state.
ERI. We're
That's a
talking
state
about-
thing. That's
this is a
separate.
state bill.
Right, what I was just referring to, Don, was what the state just passed. It's
Right.
not the ERIP that we have done in the past.
right.
We
Okay,
don't
so
have
this-
that
My
expense.
question, though, was, is this going to have some kind of an impact on us as far as our budget? If we have people who decide to take this opportunity, either this year or for next year, is there any portion that we have to fund?
Well,
Or is
unless,
this all
We
through the
won't know that
state
till
this
system?
is, there are no special incentives that the state is offering, nor is the state requiring that school districts provide any incentives. Whether or not the board decides to do that is something the board will have to discuss. But there is no obligation for the board to do that under the current law.
Okay, thank you.
I wouldn't see why we would. The only time we initiated the ERI was when there was no state mellow bill or are offering. We never
Okay.
piggyback off of
I
the
concur.
opportunity that's already out there on the
I just
state.
want to make sure.
But we do have, I had questions on this about, because of the window, which again, the state is thinking from Harrisburg rather than us as school districts. I mean, they have a window that closes July 10th. Well, when do we approve our budget? In June. So the dilemma we have is trying to even attempt to
Yeah.
estimate what might occur through notices. I know we have a policy, we had a policy under the URI, one that we controlled, that had us getting notice in May, because of course we have an obligation to notify our staff where their buildings are gonna be way before that. So,
The state took it right out of our hands.
yeah, they did, except that they weren't keeping in mind our fiscal years at the time that they did that.
For next year, they did though.
Right, and, well, it's down to June 30th, but I'm wondering if we're gonna be following this in case there are those employees who are proactive in notifying us of their leaving. As far as the obligation, the thing would be that we would be experiencing what we did with the URI, except without the expense directly to the district. It should actually reduce the payroll numbers if in fact there are employees who wanna take advantage of this.
Yes, we're from the state, we're here to help you, so that's good. North Monco Technical Career Center, Pat, do you have a report on that, anything you want to say?
Yes, I was over, I met with Dr. Irwin on Monday, and he gave me a tour of the building, and they're very, very close to completion. They're just really cleaning up, the floors are in, they're still doing some electrical work, but he's hoping the next couple of weeks. Now, when they will get occupancy, he's not sure, because that rests with Talamenson when they're satisfied, the township. And also a reminder that you'll see an item on the agenda tonight to approve the budget for North Monco. And I did talk with Dr. Irwin, and those figures are correct. So what you see on your agenda tonight, they are the correct figures. Also, just a reminder that if you want to keep the May 27th date open, because that's the night they're going to have their dedication ceremony. And they're getting tremendous response. It's amazing what the business community is donating in terms of flatbed trucks that they need for a stage, and people are donating food. And I know, Don. And
The food.
it's really, they plan to have about 500 people there. In fact, they could have a major traffic jam.
May 27th?
May
Yeah.
27th at 6 o'clock. And I'd recommend it. It's really shaping up to be a beautiful facility.
Very good. Any questions about North Monco? Thank you. Meet and discuss, there has been no meetings held, and there are none currently scheduled, but there'll probably be one maybe before the end of this school year. Municipal relations, Mr. Shapinsky.
No report.
Good report. Any questions? No questions.
Nobody's called us to ask us anything.
That completes all the committee reports. At this time, we'll have audience of citizens. If anybody would like to address the board, yes.
Good evening, H. Bruce Gordon, Montgomery Township. We're now nearing mid-April. We've been in the committee structure since about January. I'd like to ask once again, as you've been hearing at every meeting, when, if possible, the board will make a decision regarding videotaping the subcommittee meetings. Meeting times don't seem to be changing around very much, despite the questions from the audience as to shifting some of the subcommittee meetings up till later hours to try and make it more available for the public. And despite the fact that we had a special action meeting on Tuesday night where video cameras were present with the students manning them, I understand there were certain homework assignments and so on that prevented us from being able to utilize their services later on when the Finance Committee met after that special action meeting. But I'd like to know, is it the responsibility or can it be assigned to a particular subcommittee of this board to discuss the videotaping agreements and as to whether or not we can ever get cameras at these subcommittee meetings?
Let me take the suspense out of it. The intention of this board at the present time is to not videotape committee meetings. We videotape work sessions, we videotape action meetings. We don't want to start videotaping committee meetings, we want to keep them as informal as possible. Audiences are invited, and the committee meetings are primarily to discuss many items that may never, ever appear in a work session or never appear in an action meeting. If anything happens in a committee meeting that is going to require action or additional action in a month, it'll always be brought forward to the work sessions, which are televised, and so it'll be on a work session, and that would be followed by the action meeting. So those subjects that come out of committees have two places that'll be on camera, one at the work session, one at the other. We don't want to start, if we start, we don't know how many committee meetings there will be, we don't know how many committees there will be, that's always a changing thing, and we just don't want to put that burden on the crews that do this, and it also takes away from some of the informality that we want to get at in the curriculum meeting. So at the present time, it could change, but at the present time, the feeling of this board is that we are not televising committee meetings.
Thank you for that.
Anyone else?
Bobby Penniman, Lansdale Borough. I had not planned to come to the podium tonight, but I'm prompted to by the comments about videotaping the committee meetings. I've spoken about this several times before, and I'm somewhat dismayed to hear the response tonight. The decision has been made. I'm not sure when that decision might have been discussed in full board session to have board concurrence that actually is board policy to not tape committee meetings. Perhaps that was
I
done.
knew there was a policy, Mrs. Penniman.
We need to have a policy?
There is no policy.
I take great exception with the committee process.
That's too bad.
Excuse me, Mrs. Krieger.
That's too
Well,
bad.
let's get away from the personal attacks, okay. You take exception to the committee process.
I take great exception to the committee process. I find myself thinking the reason the committee process was implemented was so the board could conduct business away from the public's view.
And I take great exception to that, Mrs. Penniman, because this board has tried to articulate many times the purpose for the subcommittee structure.
Mrs. Krieger.
And that's to open up our process and allow for the public to come in at the ground level of planning here, Mrs. Penniman.
Mrs.
And
Krieger,
just
if you have a meeting at 4
together.
o'clock in the afternoon,
Time.
working people cannot attend those meetings. Now, you
I
work
have a
on a
job too,
part-time
Mrs.
basis. You work part-time. Most of the,
Speak to me, would you please?
excuse me, most of the board members are either self-employed or,
No, wait a minute.
or,
Listen to me.
I said most. I said most of the board members, thank you, Mr. Hill. Most of the board members are either self-employed or work on less than a full-time basis. Those of us who are regular attendees of this board and very interested in the day-to-day activities of this board and the district work full-time and do not have the luxury of arranging a work schedule to be at a 4 p.m. meeting during the week. That is just not possible. We do not face the same kinds of difficulties on evening meetings. There are many nights when we have been here until midnight or later to attend to business. Now, I'm sorry if you think that conducting business in committee session in a private room opens the process to the public.
Howard, it's not 5
I
minutes,
know,
it's not
I
true.
know. Let me finish. It's not true. Go ahead. I want you to finish.
When there are only a handful of public viewers in those meetings, I don't see how that's possible.
Let me respond to your point. Let me try to clarify it up in a comment. You have to understand why committee meetings were started. If you remember our work sessions, we're running to midnight and much later.
I was here, Mr. Hill.
I know, let me finish, let me make my point. After a certain point, a board member or somebody in the audience, your attention to what you're doing, your ability to communicate clearly and to get anything done over these long hours was very, very bad. And it was not, we were not doing the work that we should be doing. We were spending a lot of time, but not a lot was being accomplished. We thought the best way to handle this was to break it up, have committee meetings on particular subjects, and have those things discussed and spend the time on those, and then bring those forward, items that needed action or things that had to be brought forward for the total board, we brought to the work session. And you will notice, since we started committee meetings, that the work sessions have become shorter, because only things that are brought to the work session are those things we need action on and work on. Committee meetings are open to the public. Most of them are held in this room here, and most of them are held at 6 o'clock or later. There are a few that are held relative to facilities, and a couple others are held earlier. But most of them are held at 6 o'clock or later. We're just starting this committee process. The dates may change, the times may change, you may adjust it. But for the present, we're trying to work this program through, and I think we're doing the right thing. Now, you may disagree, but this is where we're headed.
I don't disagree with the fact that the committee process might make matters more, the board members more effective in handling the affairs of the district. I can't disagree with you at all on that point, Mr. Hill. A solution has been proposed, and that would be to have a camera in the room, not necessarily a person behind the camera, a camera running in the room, and to have that aired at some time that's convenient to Channel 16. Now, whether that's in the middle of the night, it's irrelevant. It doesn't matter. It still would provide access to the public, and that's what's necessary. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Hearing none? Oh, yes.
Linda Abram, Upper Gwynedd. I guess the point to all of this, for some of us, is that those of us that are interested in participating in learning about and listening to and contributing to the items that relate to our children in their education in North Penn, come at a time sometimes during these meetings when we cannot be there. So the suggestion was made that they be videotaped. I know there was some discussion last week, if I'm not mistaken, it might have even been this week, I get even confused what day it is, about the cost to have those cameras run. I guess we would ask the board, if you are making the statements that you would like us to believe, and there are people who support you in this, that this is a board open to public comment and input, that you consider once again, with open mind, videotaping these meetings. It is an opportunity for those people who cannot or choose not to come to the committee structure to see the depth of conversation. I know what you're saying about the work sessions and the committee meetings being videotaped, but quite frankly, having sat through several committee meetings, there's a tremendous amount of valuable information that goes on that the board members and administrators share that, in fact, may result in a decision, but how they got to that point is incredibly important. So I think the frustration on some of our parts is that if the meeting times, I know many of them are 6 or later, some are still in the earlier afternoon at 4 or 4:30, if they will not change. I heard what you said tonight, that at this point the board chooses not to videotape. I think the committee structure, working effectively, will expedite matters and get more work done. But I would ask that you, all 9 of you, consider at another point the opportunity to have a standing camera available at these meetings. I think it is to your benefit that the community see the relaxed atmosphere that may exist at these committee meetings. You talk about it wanting to be less formal and more relaxed. That's an opportunity for the public to see the kind of dialogue that goes on at that level. And I think it's valuable for all of us to benefit from that conversation. So I ask that, without great anger or animosity, that you once again consider that. I think many of us will continue to request this because we feel that whether you put them on at 2, 3, or 4 in the morning, they are valuable pieces of information that many of us would like to tune into. And we can't be here at all of them.
Thank you for your comments, and all the board heard your, and come up again.
Excuse me?
Thank you.
We got your message. Thank you. Anyone else? Let's proceed with the superintendent's report.
The first recommendation is to ask your approval of the 1998 Advanced Credit Summer School Program and to continue planning to add college-level courses to that program.
So moved.
As
Second.
Mr. Mosley, motion, Mr. Krieger, second.
Mr.
Mrs.
Krieger?
That's not my takeaway.
Well,
More chocolate cake for you.
any questions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. So moved.
Recommend approval of the 1998 Summer School Remedial Program.
So moved. Second it.
Mr. Schilling and Mr. Shapinsky. Any questions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. So moved.
Recommend approval of the contract for transportation of 3 North Penn students to Perkiomen Valley Academy Treatment Program by their vehicle. Cost of the service shall be $14.50 per student per day, as presented on 41-98.
So moved.
Second
Mr.
it.
Mosley, Mr. Shapinsky, any questions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. So moved.
Recommend approval to award the bid for digital telephone system and voice processing system alternate for North Penn High School to Phone America Corporation in the amount of $40,700.
So moved.
Mr.
Second.
Mosley, Mrs. Krieger. Shreese.
Just say Sheree.
Any questions?
Yeah.
Yes.
Go ahead.
You want to go?
I just want to ask Art, this phone system that we're putting in, is this relative to the new addition or an improvement to the current system, and when has the old system been
It's
installed?
replacing the old system and expanded into the new building. So our total phone system will be a privately owned phone system, which it is now, but upgraded to digital, and Ms. Klein did have the specifications thoroughly reviewed by the consultant that she's working with, and they are in agreement that it will interface with anything we do in the future as far as technology.
And this price tag is only for the existing building, and anything future in
No,
the...
this is the
whole package, that's what I was guessing.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Art.
Sure.
Quick question, Art. In terms of a maintenance contract or service contract, are we required to sign anything with these people?
We do our own maintenance in-house. We have a warranty period. When the warranty is up, our technician maintains all our phones.
What's the warranty period?
1 year.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, quickly on, where will this be coming from, general fund or the
This
high
is
school
part-
project, or?
This is part of the bond issue, the high school
Okay.
upgrade, and we feel pretty good about our number. We established that number, if you recall, in 1996 of 41,000.
I wasn't sure if the whole,
It's
whole amount
the
was the
additional
okay.
items that we're doing.
Sure,
Part of that $792,000 figure.
yeah, I know. Just
Any
wanted
other
to keep track of it, thank you.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
So moved.
Recommend approval of the change orders as noted for modulars at Inglewood, Montgomery, and North Wales Elementary Schools in the amounts as presented, all as listed on item 44-98.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Mosey, Mr. O'Donnell, any questions?
Yes, I do.
Yes. Krieger.
I'm just curious on these particular change orders, Art, because I was reading this and I thought when you brought this to us for approval that anything that we did now with modulars in particular had to be ADA compliant. So I was a little surprised to see that these change orders were relative to those particular needs to make these modulars ADA compliant. So
When we first made
when the projects were
application,
completed, were they ADA compliant?
this makes them ADA compliant.
Okay, so these have been up and running since like the beginning of the year?
Yeah,
What takes so long for the change orders to come forward?
Settling
Final
out
project.
and determining what the final cost should be and negotiating back and forth.
I see.
And the good thing, and it shows you that we're comfortable with the change orders, is in light of the fact that you have Brucker coming forward at Inglewood at 6609, and the other two in that very same, just about the same amount by another contractor. So that's one of the checks and balances that we use. And of course, henceforth, all modulars now must be ADA compliant. When we made our first application, that was not the case, and we felt that we would, it would be a situation where we would use steps instead of ramps, especially like in Inglewood with one classroom.
Okay, so are these sums of money coming out of that same fund that was used to purchase the moss?
Exactly. If you recall, we had $800,000
Right.
for 8 units, and we will be considerably, well, we'll be under that budget. Even with these change orders, if you look individually, and it's a good lesson for all of us, and we predicted it would probably happen, when you do one, you can see one unit is 106,509, and that's the GC's contract. But when you do 3, like at North Wales, you're 228,000, so you're under the 100,000. We have used 100,000 as our budget for all of our modules in recent times.
Any other questions?
I just want to know, can we expect any more to come through on these particular
No,
projects?
this is the end,
Thank you.
and the only, quite frankly.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
So moved.
Dr. Bose, before you make the nominations, I found one typographical error that I,
For shame.
Oh, Judy.
it's on page, it's the very next, it's BA 4. If I could bring your attention to number 2 under support staff nominations, if you would look at the salary, that's $19,000 a year, not an hour.
Ooh,
I want the job. I want it.
somebody's gonna be very disappointed.
I wasn't going to vote for that one. Where are you, Judy?
Yeah, it's in line.
Second page.
Is there no new item to our agenda? No?
Correction so
Yeah, no,
noted.
it's not on mine. It's not on
Oh,
mine.
wait.
Yeah, it is. It's not on the one that came home.
Hold on.
You gotta look at the agenda in front of you, not the one you got.
Look at the addendum.
Slow
Oh, you
down.
think you do this work in advance and...
Under nominations, support staff,
Or still in control, $19,000.
He's happy tonight.
I think we ought to do that per year.
I wasn't going to vote for that. I'm glad you cleared that up.
Thank you for that excitement.
You're welcome.
I would point your attention to the agenda, which is the last item that's non-personnel, and it's a recommendation for your approval to submit to the Pennsylvania Department of Education, Division of School Facilities, a Department Form 74A form for the replacement of the underground fuel tanks at Hatfield, Nash, and North Wales Elementary Schools as presented on 45-98.
So moved.
Mr. Moses.
Second.
Mr. Schilling, any questions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. So moved.
Now on to personnel. Recommend your approval of the appointments on BA-4A for 2 professional staff and 4 support staff.
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Shear, any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
So moved.
Recommend that you approve the resignations on BA-4A for 1 professional staff and 5 support staff.
Second.
Mr. Schilling and Mr. Shapinsky, any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
So moved.
Recommend that you approve the position changes as presented on BA-4B for 5 support staff.
So moved.
Second it with a question. One question.
Oh, you got a question?
Just one.
Okay.
Judy, item number C2. Wasn't that gentleman just hired last month?
That's correct.
Okay, just making sure. Maybe we thought it was gonna be
We went
different.
through the interviewing process, had 6 applicants. This person does have a CDL license and has lots of experience.
Thanks.
Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
So moved.
Recommend 1 leave of absence for professional staff as presented on BA-4C.
Second.
Mr. Schilling, Mr. Mosey, any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
So moved.
Recommend the board approve on BA-4B, the 5 salary changes for professional staff.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Shapinsky and Mr. O'Donnell, is there any questions?
Yes.
Yes,
Actually, a statement.
statement.
This is, 4 of the 5 of these people that are getting changed are the 4 that were part of the administration performance-based pay agreement. And I hope that this puts a good foot forward, that I recommend that you all support these 4 people. with the adjustments to show our administration that we are trying to move forward with our relationship between the board and these administrators. And we are hoping to make this, I guess, a peace offering to try to resolve some of the problems we've had in the past. That's it.
Any other comments, questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Recommend the board approve the 2 professional staff leaves of absence as presented on BA-4C.
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Krieger, Mr. O'Donnell, any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
I hope I haven't confused you. That was the change in the leave dates. Now I will go back and pick up the 1 professional staff leave of absence recommendation, also presented on BA-4C.
So moved.
Second.
Sharice Krieger. Mr.
I'm over
Shear-
here in
Oh.
the administrators.
Yes.
I just realized I'm the only board member on this side of the table. No wonder he ignores me.
You have a question or just a
No,
second?
no, I,
Just a second.
second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
So moved.
Recommend approval of additions to the professional and support staff substitute list for the current school year as presented on BA-5.
So moved.
Second.
That was Mr. Mosley and Mr. Schilling. Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Recommend approval of additions, changes, and deletions to the extra duty assignments for the current school year as presented on item 40-98.
So moved.
Mr. Mosey. Mrs. Shear, you've got to speak up louder. All those in favor? Any questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
Teresa, I'll bring this bell.
Mr. Krieger has a question.
Mrs. Krieger.
This would be to Bob. I'm just a little perplexed as to why we have such a drop in the salary on between the deletion and the change. We're deleting the first person and replacing that person.
Actually, it was a shared position,
Oh, okay,
and now the second person will be picking up the extra responsibilities.
full-time.
Yeah.
Okay, and so then next year when this comes through, can we expect to see it at the top rate for the full year?
If we have, yeah,
Or, I mean, after?
yes, we would have 2 people sharing it again, possibly.
Oh, you're planning to,
I think that's the way this is normally done, the co-chair.
okay. And have we always paid extra duty for talent shows?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. No more questions?
Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Again, I'd point your attention to the addendum and recommend approval of the salary increases due to degree improvement as presented on BAA-2.
So moved.
Second.
I heard you that time. Mr. Mosey, Mrs. Shear, any questions?
Just one.
Yes.
Again, I make the request that I would like to see what courses these people take when we get these improvements, because some of these are pretty sizable increases. One person here is getting a $6,000 increase. And I'd just like to know what course, the report is pretty complete, but I'd just like to see what courses they're taking to determine this salary. I mean, did that person take 1 course or 3 to get a $6,000 rate?
Mr. Mosey, if I could help you.
Please.
In the contract, we, as you know, in our salary schedule, we have bachelor's level, bachelor's plus 15
Right.
credits, master's,
Right.
master's plus 15, master's plus 30, and PhD.
Right.
In order to be able to move to the next level from each of these, for example, for somebody to move from a bachelor's to a bachelor's plus 15, that person has to take 15 graduate credits, and they have to be approved by our office. So that's how that happens. And then the next level, to go to master's, they would have to complete a master's degree. After that, then they would take the requisite number of courses to get to the next level. Now, sometimes those courses are 3 credits each, depending on the kind of course that it is and the breadth of the course. Sometimes they're 2 credits and sometimes they're 1. And if they're 1, they're obviously going to they have to fill in and take more courses. So it's a pretty enormous number of courses that you're asking to see.
Well,
Let me ask a question, let me help you a little bit.
the question I have is though, that I would think that most courses would be a 3-credit course.
Most graduate courses are 3, but they
Okay.
aren't all.
No, I know. I went to college. I know that. But what I like to, I'm just thinking, to get a $6,000 raise, was that one course, or that person go to school to take 3 courses? I mean, if you're taking 3 courses a semester, that's 9 credits.
Our agreement with the bargaining unit is that a person can take 15 credits in a calendar year.
Right.
And it takes a while until a person reaches the point where that person can move to the next level. So it may be over a period of a year, maybe 2 years, depending on the particular person, to accumulate those credits.
Okay.
And nobody gets a $6,000 increase for taking one course.
It's a level 1 to level 3. It's going from a bachelor's, I guess, to a master's.
Right, that's what the levels are spelled out
So
here
it's
for
30
you.
credits.
Okay.
I think
30
that's what he's
credits.
asking for. I
They're-
think
The
it's-
levels are right here.
That would
And
be
all you would have to
Yeah,
do,
I have to concur with Pat. I think it would be more helpful if we knew it was a bachelor's degree plus whatever, or a master's degree, or a doctorate.
So you're asking for the
Or something like
kind
that
of
that's
degree it
been
is.
achieved for this level.
Right.
I don't think he's asking,
We can do
It
that.
would be nice to see on the course reimbursements that we pay out, what kind of courses our teachers are taking. But for degree, this is about degree
Right.
improvement.
Right.
we can put that on there for
So
you.
just a simple, whether it's, isn't
I-
that what
That's
you mean?
easy.
Yeah, if it's bachelor's plus 15, if it's a master's, or that would just be
Something like
helpful
that.
to me, that's all.
I tell you what, that's all represented here. I think it's great. Judy, I don't think I've ever seen this much, but it is simple. Level 1 is a bachelor, the level 2 is a
Well,
bachelor
Vicki,
plus
it might be
15.
simple to you, okay?
But no,
I
I
know
mean,
what Pat's talking
it could be
about.
attached to all of
Because
them.
when I look at this, I don't know what this step or those levels
Well, you
mean.
could go back to the,
If you
Try
have a
not-
copy of the contract,
Yeah,
you
go back
can
to
do
the
it.
contract.
Sure, if I have it in my briefcase.
What you're asking
Well-
is for more convenience, and
Yeah.
Dr. Norris
For-
said we can do that.
For the time being, to help you, anything over a level 3 is a master's degree. So level 3 is a master's, level 4 is a master's plus 15, level 5 is a master's plus 30, and level 6 would be a PhD.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
You might put that note on the bottom.
Now, maybe you can do it as a footnote rather
Yes.
than listing
Thank
it
you.
after.
Thank
That
you,
would be
Dr.
helpful.
Rose.
Way to do it.
That would be
Nice.
I
helpful.
don't think
You'd have
Very
it
good.
concept.
Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
A little more enthusiasm. Opposed? So moved.
Student travel. Recommend you approve the list of the 12 activities for student travel as presented on BA-6, and also to remind you that this also includes our high school state champion academic decathlon team traveling to Rhode Island to compete for a national championship.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Schilling and Mr. Mosey. Are there any questions?
Yeah, just in regards to the academic decathlon team, I would like to wish them the best of luck. And I'd also like to ask Dr. Bose, are we planning to give them proclamations next month?
We're hoping we do that after they won the national championship.
Thank you.
Either event we're planning to do.
Any other questions?
Tell me,
Yes.
Don, I've noticed as I've gone through here, and I'd just like to find out a little bit more about some of these that are having high registration fees. And I'd have to say that I noted with the academic decathlon that the Pennsylvania region has actually helped subsidize the payments of our lodging and of our transportation of our food through a $1,000 cost reimbursement. And then I look at another, and quite frankly, I'm not criticizing the event, but when I see PMEA All-State Band Festival, and we have our 4 students going there, and of course, there's a major investment in the hotel lodging, the mileage, and the food, all of which may be worthwhile. I don't know what this competition is where 4 of our band members are the competitors or participating in it. But I think that some of these organizations, when they're charging $650 registration fees, to me, I just see it like tapping into a good thing, and I wonder, if we really ever pay attention to this to the point of letting them know, if the school districts let them know that they felt that their sponsorship of this organization has is expecting a little bit too high a reimbursement from us as a school system to participate in their function. If perhaps we could draw some of this down, it could be really meaningful in big dollars as we go through the year. Most of them are not this unreasonable, but I am seeing some that aren't there almost like it's a profit-making event.
You make a valid point, you have anything?
Could anyone
You make a
explain
valid
their
point, well, you make a
PMEA?
valid point,
Dr.
Vicki,
Bose?
in the fact that,
Pennsylvania Music Educators Association sponsoring what amounts to an honors band, a regional band, or a state band. So the kids who are selected are kids who are outstanding on their instruments.
That might be, but they gotta pay $650 to have the privilege of playing in their band, which really has what, a scholarship attached?
And I can't explain the charges. They're established independent of the school district.
Well, maybe we ought to scrutinize a little bit as to if it's not a state organization that's sponsored by the state, as to whether we're simply subsidizing a private labor organization that's throwing together this event.
well, I can bring a valid point up. I think the
Or
point that I
a public
wanted
employee.
to piggyback on your point was that I think that the amount of student travel seems to be increasing at a pretty rapid rate. Each time there seems to be more and more. And I think we as a board or we as administration have got to start looking at this a little closer and making sure we're not just going to a lot of things with a few students more than is really practical for this district. And I'm not saying I'm wrong or right.
Don, I'd like to add something. I understand Vicky's point, and it's pretty
It's not the
valid,
lodging and
because
food, it's
I've seen
registration.
promotions like that before. I mean, a
Yeah.
lot of people get them in the mail.
Yeah.
But, you know, as far as letting our kids go to events where we're representing, it's North Penn pride, and I have no problem with paying for it. If I could, I
But
would
the
drive it.
registration fee
Don
is
makes-
I understand Vicky's point.
It's
That's a
like
separate issue.
lucrative.
That's right.
But under this guy's understand, you know, we're sending kids out there to represent us. They bring pride to this district, and it's worth every dollar we spend.
And I would refer that to curriculum committee.
I'll take that challenge.
Any other questions?
Well, we need to screen them for legitimate competition.
Right.
That leads
Yeah, that's
somewhere,
legitimate.
not
Yes,
just simply a sponsored event with a big gate charge.
All those in
Thank you.
favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so moved.
I point out the vandalism report for your information, requires no action on your part, and moving on now to other business.
That would be you, Vince.
Don, I have, you want to do number A first, and then I'll do it.
Pat, do you want to read under other business, the North Montco one? The motion.
Oh, I'm sorry, okay. Recommend approval of the proposed 1998-99 annual budget of the North Montco Technical Career Center in the amount of $5,432,770. The proposed continuing education budget in the amount of $267,877, and the production control budget in the amount of $65,000.
So we have a motion from Mr. Moses.
Second.
Do I have a second?
That was me.
Mrs. Krieger.
Mr. Krieger.
Are there any questions?
Ready.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so moved.
Under item B, under other business, I recommend a motion that North Penn School District pay the amount of $96,165.80 to June Sukso for the 4-H property, as the balance due for just compensation for the condemnation of the said property, to satisfy the award entered by the Board of View. The source of the funds for this payment is the 1996 High School Contingency Fund.
Second.
I have a second by Mrs. Krieger. Are there any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. Treasurer's report, Mrs. Deddy.
As of March 30th, 1998, the available funds from North Penn School District were $38,205,016.12. End of my report. End of my report.
Thank you. Any budget transfers?
Recommend the approval of budget transfers in the amount of $40,480.
So moved.
Motion
Second.
by Mr. Schilling.
Second, if I may.
Mr. Fitzke, any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
So moved.
Recommend approval of the payment of invoices in the amount of $2,997,000 $838.48.
Need a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Who made the motion? Mrs. Shear, second by Mr. O'Donnell. Any questions?
Comment.
Yes.
I forgot to announce in my report that we were successful in reducing the $45,000 balance of Deloitte and Touche by almost $18,000 through Finance Committee and Carol Schoen's
Good
serving
job.
as our representative.
About time you did something.
Took you long enough.
We're gonna
Any
have
other
to make
questions or
him come to our
comments?
meetings.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
So moved. Food service report, Mr. Wood.
March 1998, total income, $457,044.34. Year-to-date, $2,703,793.73. Gross profit on sales, March, $259,530.87. Year-to-date, $1,528,415.78. Net profit for March, $59,622.94. Year-to-date, $178,226.61. Cash disbursements year-to-date, $2,304,170.83. Accounts payable, $198,648.03.
I have a question.
Any questions?
Actually, a request, Art. I had at least one of my kids ask that we dump some of that profit back into the flavor of the food. So, take that into consideration.
Yes,
Okay, I'll
please,
discuss that tomorrow.
with Dottie.
Federal programs, Dr. Bose.
No report.
Solicitor's report.
No report.
Can you tell us how Mr. Bartle is?
He's doing very well. He's working at home and feeling very well, and he's out and about in selected meetings, and he looks great. Sounds great, looks great.
I can all say, get well, Frank. He'll catch it on TV, I'm sure. That he can do from a reclining position.
Any other items you need to report forward by any board members?
I just think that everybody needs to know that also in our executive session that we so graciously wished Dr. Hassler a birthday.
We have to make that a motion?
Yeah, 37th birthday.
By a 5-4 vote.
Move to adjourn.
Motion made and second. Adjourned.